Welcome once again to the Sikh Youth Show. With me I have my fellow panel members, Bhai Gobind Singh and Bhai Tasveer Singh. Those of you who have been watching the show over the last few weeks will be aware that we've been talking around the subject of the Immortals, where we started off talking about the Chali Mukhte. And last week we talked about the leadership and the greatness of Guru Gobind Singh Ji. So today we're going to carry on that discussion and once again focus towards Guru Gobind Singh Ji and the amazing leadership of Guru Gobind Singh Ji, and then move forward and talk about more immortals as such that came from this community, or our community, that Guru Gobind Singh Ji brought forward. So over the last week or two, we've mentioned much about what's known now as the Guru Gobind Singh Ji Marg, or the trail as we want to call it, from Anandpur Sahib down towards Nandir. Now we talked about the circumstances around Anandpur Sahib, Chamkaur. We talked about Mashiwada and the situation that arose around there as well. So let's talk about the time of Maharaji's stay in what was known, or what we know now as Damdama Sahib, or Guru Ki Kashi, as some people may know the Takht as, or which back in the day would have been known as Talwandi Sabo. Now Maharaj stayed there after the final battle, which is known as the Battle of Muktasar, where we probably got a bit of stability now. It was time to regroup, to rethink, to restabilize again. So perhaps we can just put some history into this, and let's talk about this specific region and how this all came about, and how Maharaj ended up there, and why the Gur Sikhs all got back together again. So, Tasveer Singh?
I think, well, the thing about Maharaj coming to some place like Sabo Ki Talwandi, it was quite a barren area at that point in time. It was a mix between a barren area and a jungle, really. So it was quite a uninhabitable sort of area. By coming to that point, again, it was a point where it was a place which was quite unknown territory for a lot of the Mughals at the time. People like Wazir Khan, they would never want to come into that area. It was an area which they didn't know about really well. So that itself brought the stability to a point. Bhai Dalla, who we know was a rich a governor at the time of that area, he would have then controlled that area very well. And Wazir Khan himself used to constantly call Bhai Dalla and send messages to Bhai Dalla, I want Guru Gobind Singh Ji, send me back Guru Gobind Singh Ji. And Bhai Dalla would just say, look, we won't give you Guru Gobind Singh Ji. If you want to come, you can come looking for him. But obviously you don't understand this area very well. I understand it more to you. I'll go into the jungles. Your armies will end up being, they won't be able to find the right water. They won't know where the water is in the area. They won't know, how to survive in the area. So it was one of those sort of strategic points then where they thought, all right, let's just, let this be for now, especially for Wazir Khan at that time. So Guru Gobind Singh Ji, obviously, Guru, as we know, Guru Ki Kashi. So this, like how...
What do we mean by Guru Ki Kashi?
Well, in the Hindu religion itself, I mean, there's a place called Kashi, which is a place of education, places of knowledge, places of learning.
Institute in itself.
An institute in itself. So it's like Guruji created his own version of that. And he obviously, I mean, Paonta Sahib was like the same thing. And Anandpur Sahib was like the same thing.
We talked about in the previous program.
Yeah, but then Guru Ki Kashi, this was an older Guru Gobind Singh Ji, and it was more, focused on spreading Prachar as well. It was more of it was that point in time where Prachar was
and let's also think about what's just happened to the Sikh Qawm and Guru Gobind Singh Ji here, what they've just gone through. They've had the Parivar, they've had the family Vishor, they've had the Shahidiyan.
Yeah, and this was the point then where the family actually came back together again.
So the remaining members of
the family. So Guru Gobind Singh Ji, Guru Gobind Singh Ji's wives, Mata Sundar Kaur, Mata Sahib Kaur, with Bhai Mani Singh, who obviously was with them when the Vichora happened near Anandpur Sahib, when that happened there. So when they returned back, And then it was also...
So where had they been for this period of time?
They had moved, they moved to Delhi. So they had actually gone to Delhi there and then come back, and they've settled as well.
So okay, yeah, so carry on. Yes.
And then, by money, and then this is where also other great Guru Sikhs like Baba Deep Singh Ji also comes to Damdama Sahib, looking for Guru Gobind Singh Ji when Guru Gobind Singh Ji told him to go back to his village, and then he found out about what's happened to Guru Gobind Singh Ji. Took him a long time to find Guru Gobind Singh Ji, and then obviously he found Guru Gobind Singh Ji in Damdama Sahib as well. So it's one of those things that, this Damdama Sahib is like the way we know Damdama, like we spoke last time. It's about when Maharaj had that resting place, had that breather, took that breather.
Time to...
And at that time, then Guru Gobind Singh Ji also then started to have chance to bring everything back together again, create the institutes which he had created already in Paonta Sahib and in Anandpur Sahib, and then he also created the same kind of thing.
I think that was the threat. Wherever the Guru went, Guru was able to recreate the same atmosphere. Anandpur Sahib si, Paonta Sahib si, wherever the Guru went, he was able to recreate that hub of knowledge. And that is what people didn't like. That is why Guru Gobind Singh Ji was, the thorn in the side of the imperial master of the time. And if you look, like you just said, Maharaj ne Mukh Sahib back to the Bad, Maharaj takes refuge, stays at Damdama Sahib, or Damliya, he rests there. And in that period of 2 years, Maharaj is already 40 years old now. So obviously Maharaj is middle-aged. Well, and now Maharaj is looking, we need to recreate stability in the Panth. And a lot of those things have become shaheeds then. Like you rightly said, Baba Deep Singh Ji plays a very vital part. Because only 2 years before Maharaj leaves Anandpur Sahib, Baba Deep Singh is sent home, like 1702 almost. He's sent home to Karja, Yakar, because he was like 18, 19 years old, to go home and get married. So within those 2 years apart, he finds that Maharaj is and Nagosh Hoya. Like he said, he finds Maharaj in Talabandi Sabodi. That's where they meet. So when Maharaj does rest at Damdama Sahib, he stays for at least a period of 2 years. And in that 2 years, Maharaj re-begins, like you said, the education part of the Sikhism. This is one thing you have to understand, that without educating the Panth, you have no Panth. And Maharaj was that key concept for the Panth to exist. Maharaj created the institutions again. And that was through the Gurbani, through education, through teaching people how to read and write. Simple things like that. And by Mani Singh Ji, like you just said, Mother Sahib Kaur Ji, Mother Sundari Ji were in Delhi. They come to Damdama Sahib and they find out that Maharaj is there, safe and sound. Maharaj sends a letter to see how and that's where they reunite, and that's where obviously the Mataji posed the question, I can't see the Sahibs are there, Sahibs are
So this is the first time they would have found out about the Sahibs are the Shahidis.
Exactly.
Mata Gujri Shahidi as well.
Yes, and that is when the Maharaj says, in Putran si Sisyo, Vardiye Suchar, Char Muita Kapya, Jivat Ki Hazar. Like I've sacrificed, the 4 sons of Maharaj given us to keep the Butta of Sikhi alive. And all these are your sons. And it's relevant to say that Maharaj Damdama Sahib, by staying there, when the Vaisakhi was celebrated there, he then reinitiated the Khandi Dipawali again, made Amrit Sanchar, and again 1.2 lakh Pranis took Amrit and came into the fold of Sikhi. Like you said rightly, the area was not very full of superstition, full of backward way of thinking, witchcraft, all that kind of stuff. So Maharaj brought back some Sikh spirit in the area. Like by Dalla, he was a very influential character. He came into the fold, and so forth. So it's very important to realize that Maharaj Gyan was a constant threat, and that is why when Wazir Khan and people like the imperial forces, they just didn't want Maharaj to talk. So if you want to silence someone, you take him out.
And it's also a very strategic, if you the way you mentioned it, it's a strategic position to be in, logistically as well, in the sense that it was very difficult for the hunters as such to access. So again, I think maybe strategically Maharaj took advantage of the situation where he knew what the end product was meant to be, or the end scenario was meant to be. So already he knew that Damdama Sahib, which we'll talk about shortly. Well, let's talk about it now. So what exactly started happening in Damdama Sahib?
To be honest, Maharaj obviously knew, look, we need to bring the Guru's Bani. was obviously Maharaj also commissioned the writing of the Guru Granth Sahib Ji again. And there's various sakyas surrounding that.
Yeah, I mean, let's get it clear to the Sangat. Why did Maharaj have to, why we're using the word recommission? You know, surely Guru Arjan Dev Ji started compiling Guru Granth Sahib Ji. So why is Maharaj having to do this exercise again? What's the scenario behind that?
Well, I mean, it's the master plan, isn't it? The master plan was that Guru Granth Sahib Ji was going to be the Guru. You know, and so Guruji had to then, and don't forget, as we all know, the Kartarpur Sahib Veer, as we call it, the original sloop, had angs in there which were blank. Those angs were going to have Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji's Bani on it. And that's what happened then. Yeah, so Guru Gobind Singh Ji then finalized that final version. And this is where Guru Arjan Dev Ji himself said, you know, that these angs are left for that Surbir Bahadur, you know, Mahapurush who's going to come on this earth. Only they'll have the rights to complete these angas, which are, you know. And so it was the master plan, didn't it? So, you know, so we're saying that Guru Gobind Singh Ji then, he commissioned,
Maharaj didn't have access to the Kartarpur Veer though, did he?
No,
Maharaj sent
there were,
and Tirmala ko jao and get the Surup, so that we can make.
So what's the reason here? Who was safeguard, or who was who kept a hold of the Kartarpur Veer? Why couldn't we get hold of the Kartarpur Veer at the time?
Well, the main thing, obviously, the Tirmaliya, who were obviously, you know, part of the Sodi clan. This was their possession for them to prove that they are the Guru, the chosen ones, as they would say. You know, we are the Gurus because we have the Surup, we have the Gurbani. So this was their trump card.
It was a sense of control. Yeah, there was a sense of control by having access.
Having the Bani,
access to the Bani.
So it was the same thing. If, you know, they would say to Guru Gobind Singh Ji, if you think that you know you should know this Bani off by heart anyway, if you claim that you're part of Guru Arjan Dev Ji.
Maharaj Sampurna Guru why did they need our beat? Because obviously they thought your beat Chadawa's going to go, you know, we're going to lose the Sangat as well. And how can we then say we're the rightful owners of the Guruship? So it was almost, they took it as an attack upon their welfare.
And I think that's really important to bring in here, that, you know, we've discussed over the last few programs of Guru Gobind Singh Ji's life against the Mughals, against the Hindu Rajas. But then how did Guru Gobind Singh Ji actually tackle or battle the interior enemy?
The internal
enemies, such as these Tirmaliyas, the Masands, as we call them. You know, Masands themselves were, you know, it was a great institute which was created by Guru Amar Das Ji and Guru Ram Das Ji. It's great because, you know, they weren't scholars. These people who were sent out then to do Prachar Sikhi, they weren't scholars. They were Gursikhs who had experienced the Guru. So a lot of them, for example, if you go for
Guru Amar Das commissioned again these various individuals to set up institutes scattered around, not just Punjab, but the whole of India.
To go back. So where did they come from?
They had created a Baimanjia, 22
seats as such of authority.
Yeah. And Maharaj would give them stamp of approval, because wherever they go, they have the right to preach the word of Sikhi. They have the right to preach the word of the Guru. And wherever things given to them, take it as it's been given to the Guru.
So in Guru Amar Das' time,
of the Guru.
There must have been well-chosen people, because Guru Amar Das chose the cream of the crop.
Almost like Santa Mahaprabhu on a level, there would have been very people of good class, good Kamai, and they would be given the Guru's authority. Because a lot of some of the Hukanam you read, Maharaj will say, you do to the Masand, take it as you've done it to the Guru direct.
Right.
That's how much level of respect and authority they had. And as you know, as the Masands passed on, they got to the next Masand, the next Masand, and as it got down to third, fourth generation, it became corrupt.
Yeah. So so if you think that institute started to become more and more corrupt, so Guru Gobind Singh Ji had to make a decision. So there were situations where he used to, Guru Gobind Singh Ji would, you know, in his younger days, would, you know, while he was getting, at the time of Ponta Sahib and all those things, he would question the Mahant, saying, you know, where's the peta? Why is the peta so little? And they would give answers such as that your Sikhs aren't very rich people. They can't give much. Obviously, we knew that, you know, Guru Gobind Singh Ji knew that they were siphoning on the side. And the whole thing was that if it wasn't for us, you wouldn't be a Guru. So all this kind of thinking was, this was basically how big egos they had.
Once all that thought, through us, that Chadawa is keeping the Guru where he is. So if we keep the Chadawa to ourselves, then we can run the role of being the Guru. You know? And this is the problem.
It's almost like a full circle. It's almost like we created that priestly class. The whole the pundits.
It wasn't meant to be a priestly class. It was supposed to be someone who educates the masses. But then, unfortunately, I think
the corruption crept in, and we started seeing the traits that we were meant to eradicate. Those are the traits coming back in again.
I mean, can you imagine if Guruji didn't make a decision of actually finishing this, you know, and you know, in a very radical way, there could be that situation where, you know, people who actually might have actually learned to live with this, because they'll say, you know, Guru Amar Das Ji, Guru Ram Das Ji created this institute. Even if it goes corrupt as part of the Sikh Institute, but Guru Gobind Singh drew a line there and said, no more, this can't happen anymore. This corruption can't exist within Sikhi. The power now has to go to the Khalsa. And then that's
hence then Maharaj, that's why then if you think Maharaj then created a new institution, like you said, the Khalsa, and secondly took away the authority from the Masons. Maharaj ke jine bhi Guru nu peta karni hai, aap aage kare.
It almost looks, it's evolving. This is what amazes me about Sikh is it's always evolving. And by Maharaj creating a Guru Panth culture as well, it will always be continuously evolving. Just because something started several hundred years ago or 100 years ago, it doesn't mean it has to be set in stone. And I think Maharaj shows that quite well with the almost abolishment of the Masand system with the replacement of the Khalsa and the Panth concept.
This is the key thing. The system didn't matter. It didn't matter. It was the Udasi system, which was the Nirmala system, or if it then came down to the Masand system. And then later on, as you will see, it wasn't about how it was. As long as the system delivered the message, that system was good. As soon as our system stopped doing that, there's no need for it. It's like you work, work in work. And at the moment in work, back in the days, everything was a paper trail. Now it's YT. The system's changed, but the concept is the same. And this is what we need to realize. Sometimes people say, "Kanini, Prathan time, this is how we used to do it in the Prathan times, and this is how it should be." Well, not really. If we look through the Guru's lives themselves, systems changed. Practices did change. They changed for the better.
Very good point.
They changed to educate and to be relevant to the time. On JSC, if we're looking at ourselves today, like Pindawar used to say, "Ki samudha hathiyar, shastra jadaya, apne bandook hai." And I'm not saying we should give away banduka, but he was saying if you want to fight a level-headed war, then you have to adopt the same armaments that you're fighting against.
And some people say in today's day and age, the shastra could be the media. You know,
exactly.
The shastra, so you have the media.
Age of information.
You understand the media and you understand how to manage information, and that's a shastra in itself as well. So again, it's that kind of thinking and taking that forward. They often say as well that the shape of the kirpan is influenced by the Persian talwar. Again, you know, it's not of ancient Indian background. You know, so Maharaj was using the weaponry and the systems and understanding what was taking place at the time and evolving and using that for the betterment of the society and the betterment of humanity to make the right decisions.
That's the key. When any system goes kharab, there's nothing wrong with abolishing that system and recreating a new one. Because if the message is getting lost, then something's wrong. And like you rightly said, Maharaj did then burn a lot of the Masans who had carried out horrific atrocities, going down to rape. You know, so Maharaj then had to show the Sikh Panth would not tolerate Masans on the Guru's name, taking Guru Di Golok. Guru Di Golok, taking it, misusing it, and then doing things which are so anti-Gurmat. And then Maharaj ne fir, Ondaya ke Maharaj ne then burnt Masans, to teach the lesson, look, it's not going to be tolerated.
I mean, there's those kind, and then, just another really important, point about, this whole Sakhi of Masans and how Guru Gobind Singh Ji tackled it and everything. There was a point in time, where Ram Rai, who was the elder son of Guru Har Rai Sahib Ji,
he would have been the cousin of Guru Gobind Singh Ji.
They would have been cousin brothers. Cousin brothers. So obviously, those many years of animosity which he created between the Ram Rai and the rest of the Gurus, that at a point did come to an end. There was a point where Guru Gobind Singh Ji met Ram Rai at Ram Rai's request, because Ram Rai knew that what he had created was going to backfire on him. He knew that this whole institute, which he had created in Dehradun, obviously he created that with the support of the Aurangzeb, and and the institute he created, but he put himself on the seat to say he was the Guru, and then he created the whole Masand idea. So he had Masands as well, so they were so-called supporting him. but he knew at a point that this support's not going to last. These Masands at a point are out of control, and they're going to kill me. They're going to kill me. That's what he comes to Guru Gobind Singh Ji for protection. He goes to Guru Gobind Singh Ji. He goes at this meeting which they had at a middle ground which was near the Jamuna River, because obviously he wouldn't have wanted Guru Gobind Singh Ji to come to Dehradun. That would have been a reduction of his status, and he wouldn't have wanted to go and shown that he's walked.
So Maharaj,
there was a middle ground, strategically again, a middle ground which is in near the Jamuna River.
Right.
And at within this discussion, he goes to Guru Gobind Singh Ji, I know what position I'm in now. I know that, this is what's going to happen to me. When it comes down to it, please protect my family, please protect my property. So this is such ironic thing that this is one worldly guru who just at this point in time is just worried about his property and his family, and here's Guru Gobind Singh Ji who's willing to sacrifice his family, willing to sacrifice his property, willing to sacrifice everything to achieve to achieve true religion, or so it's really ironic, and it's ironic in nowadays as well, where the Detari is obviously just interested in their own property, interested in their own.
Well, we see that today, don't we?
Family.
We see that. I mean, it's significant. Not going to name groups, but we've seen the passing away of a prominent Detari group leader, and you've seen the whole fight for the Jagir. And we see that not just with that. We see it. We're going down to the levels of unfortunately sants and mukhis within respected Sikh institutes as well, where it is a fight for Jagir, and it becomes that. I mean, we're talking about sorry to cut you short here. I just want to track back on this. You talk about the Sodhi family. It's interesting to note that when Guru Tegh Bahadur, at the time of Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib being found, and Guru Har Krishan mentioning the word, Baba Bakala and the 22 imposters, as you want to call them, who pretended to be part of, or pretended to be the next Guru. It's interesting to see that when Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Shahidi took place, where were those 22, where were those people who then wanted to take the Guruship, but it was under threat, it was a dangerous time to be a Guru. And it's interesting to see how that turned around.
Exactly, and then it showed, I mean, and then for Ram Rai to actually, to be in a position after all these years to accept the true Guru for who they actually are. So in that meet, while that meeting was going, all of Ram Rai's followers, they were seeing what was going on. All they could see then at one point where Ram Rai actually bowed down to Guru Gobind Singh Ji. At that point, all his followers turned their backs to him.
So they're losing control.
Yeah, exactly. So he lost control straight away at that position. And then
if Maharaj takes control,
yeah,
our Khana is finished.
That's it.
Yeah, and so those Masans, the Masans of Ram Rai, they themselves burnt Ram Rai alive. And this is how gruesome.
They put him on a boat. What did they do?
Well, he went to he was a spiritual person. I mean, obviously, he had
the son of a guru.
He's the son of a guru, so we can't say that he wasn't. He was this. He had his own levels of achievement. So obviously, when he would go into his samadhi in the mornings, for example, in Amrit Vela, be very deep samadhi. So the Masans at that point in time actually picked him up while he was in samadhi. So while he was in his meditation. Picked him up and put him onto a boat, and they actually lit him up, put him alight.
Okay.
And so this is how he passed away. And then Guru Gobind Singh Ji came to diffuse the situation, and obviously then punished the Masans, and supported Ram Rai's family.
In a way, this goes to show you, it's very easy to take control of the Guru Kar's Pasa and take that kind of front. But if you can't deliver, the punishment is just as great.
Yeah. Well, what is the Guru's Golak is. I mean, I'm talking from my personal experience. I've been blessed with the role of Khazanchi of Singh Sabha Land and East. It's a lot of Zimmawari, and you do feel it. You often think, you're looking and you're looking after and you're making safeguarding. Not that you need to, but there's loads of honesty. The Gurdwara is full of honesty and people of Sharda. Anyway. We do feel that Zimmawari, and you do look at it and you think, this is the Guru's Golak. It shouldn't be misused. The generations have died for the upkeep and the honor of the Gurukar, and to abuse that Guru's Golak or to not give access of information to the Sangat, whatever it is, it's something that it's something that you don't feel comfortable about. So
and I can't bring it back to the point, Maharaj and Damodar Saudevich, he re-established the same kind of atmosphere that was in Anand Prasad. I will bring it back to kind of the relevant point that Maharaj had that capacity, and I think if we want to look in today's day and age, that is what we need to learn. Okay, wherever we go as individuals, we should try and create that kind of kushhal, that kind of nice,
serene
free
environment. Yeah.
Exactly. Where people can breathe. Where people can breathe and they can actually feel a sense of security. You know?
I often say, I think there's no harm in saying that the Gurdwara is a place of sanctity.
Yeah.
And it should be kept at that. And I can understand, and I always understand why it upsets people when there is escalation, there is conflict, and there is, you know, what shouldn't be taking place in the Gurdwara. It does happen. So you can understand, you know, you do want to create an utopia. At least when you walk into those Gurdwaras door, have that state of utopia, have that state of Begumpura, or whatever you want to call it. You know, that's what we should be creating.
People go for
you know, because outside the world's mad.
Yeah,
at least the four walls, you know, let's get a bit of stability and a bit of serenity in those
charged
walls.
up and back out again.
Yeah, I know.
So it's really, I mean, so Damdama Sahib itself, I mean, like we were saying, Guru Gobind Singh Ji himself, you know, they started this commissioning of Sri Guru Granth Sahib.
So they are the Bani all over again. And this is where we're going to bring two prominent personalities.
Who we know were there at the time.
Baba Deep Singh and Pai Mani Singh
came from his village looking for Guru Gobind Singh Ji. Pai Mani Singh came with
with
the Matas.
Yeah. So Pai Mani Singh is there, like I said, by bringing the Mata Sahibs to Damdama Sahib. Baba Deep Singh is coming because he's heard about what's happened to Maharaj and is making his journey, and they all meet at again.
But Maharaj holds them in high esteem because they have very prominent roles within this period of time in the Damdama Sahib.
For example, he had his family were close to Guru Gobind Singh Ji from the day he was born. 12 saal de when he came and done darshan of Maharaj. And when first time he came to Anandpur Sahib, Maharaj then said, leave him here so we can educate him. And he spent at least 8 to 7 years, 7 to 8 years educating in Pai Mani Singh Ji was his tutor almost. Genuine Gurbani Sakai.
Baba Deep Singh's
Baba Mani Singh Ji obviously.
Because I was looking at Baba Mani and Pai Mani Singh's quite similar to Guru Gobind Singh Ji. In fact, probably the same age as Guru Gobind Singh Ji.
You know, his family started Sikhi with Guru Har Rai Sahib Ji, and then he had darshan of Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji as well, Pai Mani Singh. And you know, Pai Mani Singh himself was like he was a great mediator. You know,
of course,
there's so many situations where Guru Gobind Singh Ji would send. Would send Pai Mani Singh. For example, this we were talking about Ram Rai, and then the problems which Ram Rai's family was having with the Masans then at the time in Dehradun. Guru Gobind Singh Ji sent Pai Mani Singh there as a mediator. So this was the skills of Pai Mani Singh. You know, we also know that Pai Mani Singh later on in like, you know, he done the great seva of deciding whether it was resolving the issue between the Tat Khalsa and the Bandai Khalsa. So he was a great mediator. I mean, also for Pai Mani Singh to go and, you know, we know that Harmandir Sahib, Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji wasn't even allowed into Harmandir Sahib because the Masans at the time had control of it. Then Pai Mani Singh was given the seva to go and take Harmandir Sahib. How did he do that? You know, obviously he would have done that. You know, it would have been forged with him. But it was his mediating skills again. It was his skills to influence and negotiate that he actually got that Guru Ka Chak back into the right hands. Yeah.
I think Pai Mani Singh obviously then Maharaj is obviously then says now we need to create, we need to reassemble Maharaj's Swarup again. And obviously then Pai Mani Singh is chosen because obviously he is the one obviously who's educated many Guru Sikhs. Baba Deep Singh Ji was one product of the education. As we later on know, Baba Deep Singh Ji goes on creating many Swarups
for
the Takats. And also we know that by Mani Singh Ji, he actually then wrote the first Swarup that today we respect as our Guru.
So he was a Likhari and such, so whilst Guru Gobind Singh Ji was reciting by Mani Singh would have been described.
But then Guru Gobind Singh Ji would have put a stamp of approval on that. So Guru Gobind Singh Ji would have reviewed. So let's not assume that the Swarups themselves didn't have the Gurus. The Guru would, with minute detail, review these Swarups, make sure that the Likhari is correct, that the language...
And again, Baba Deep Singh Ji played a very prominent part in that because he created all the paper, all the ink, all the CI. Baba Deep Singh was given all that responsibility to make sure that they were all of good quality and that everything was ready.
Right.
So obviously he done the preparation for it. And again, that was under the supervision by Mani Singh. So you can see how the influence You know, we're so close.
I just think the relationship with Gurbani must have been amazing then. You know, not only were they listening to Guru Gobind Singh Ji reciting the Bani, but again, you know, the whole involvement, you know, from scribe to putting everything, the angs together, the binding together. You know, if there's anyone saying that Gurbani was within them, you know, literally, you know, had entered them and had taken to. And then we hear the stories about, you know, whilst Maharaj was ucharing the Bani, when it came to an end, you know, they literally went to Sachkhand.
Yeah, they left the cities.
They all became like, you know, Jeende Mukt ho gaye, you know, Bani sun ke sare. Obviously, Maharaj only spent about max a year and a half or 2 years at Damdama Sahib, because obviously he then wanted to make his journey towards Ahmedabad to meet Aurangzeb, so they could obviously talk about what's going on and you know, dispel all the myths about himself and obviously what's going on. So when Maharaj leaves Damdama Sahib, he leaves Damdama Sahib under the supervision of Babadeep Singh. Mani Singh.
So Babadeep Singh's been given a big. So he's taken on the leadership of Damdama Sahib. So running the institution and
he's just live. And he's obviously now he's got 1.2 lakh people to look after almost. Because Maharaj obviously has created a new Sikh institution there. And Babadeep Singh Ji is left there to, you know, and given order by Maharaj that you Gurbani da prachar karna. You're going to educate the Sangat about Gurbani. And that is, and you know, you're going to subscribe many more suroops. So Gotke likho, Pothyan likho, Panj Granthi likho, so that people can get access to Gurbani. So that Tir Miliye or the Surdis can't say, we've got the Bani, and give it to nobody. So Maharaj really made Damdama Sahib, the Kanchi, the education center for Gurbani. Maharaj wanted every good Sikh to have access to Gurbani. And hence Babadeep Singh Ji spent 52 years. They never go back to their Bodapind again, where they're from, Bopind. Babadeep Singh spent 52 years in Damdama Sahib, running the whole institution as Maharaj left it. And Mani Singh goes back to Delhi with the Matajis, and Guru Gobind Singh proceeds towards the south.
And let's not forget that you know, at Damdama Sahib as well, as we're saying, it was a place where the family got together, where the family was reunited. But it was also a place where the poets and all those likharis and everything which were disbanded from Anandpur Sahib, they also came and they united again back at Damdama Sahib. So it was a really big point of learning. You know, it was a place where
Maharaj would have used the wall to re-educate.
They all came together again. So it was a big turning point at that point.
So I mean, Babadeep Singh and Bhai Mani Singh are known for amazing shahidiyan. You know, we grew up with these images. You know, what amazes me about these images, actually, you know, I'm taking steps forward here, but we'll build up towards the Shahida. But we all know about Babadeep Singh, and we all see the image of Babadeep Singh holding his cease, and we see Bhai Mani Singh being chopped into pieces, and you almost look, they are our superheroes. But in that way as well, you look at other communities' superheroes, and you look at mainstream superheroes, and they have a certain age profile. And you look at these are elderly, elderly Babbe. You know, Babadeep Singh with a full white dara in his 70s, holding a big karpan, and yet he's a superhero. And it amazes me that how that sort of Sikhi goes beyond ages, and our worship of these Shaheeds goes beyond ages.
I mean, there's correspondence which by Mani Singh has written to Mata Sundar Kaur, you know, and as a son would be talking to their mother, saying, you know, my rheumatism's hurting me, you know, those kind of, you know, he was an old man, he had rheumatism, he had all these kind of things. So, you know, there was a human, there was an old man, there's a human aspect. But when the time came for a Shahidi, and, you know, the Jallad who was going to chop, who, you know, the order was given to cut by Mani Singh, Band pieces. So it was pieces. So we're talking about Band, so we're talking that one cut here, then cut, so every joint by Mani Singh was going to be cut from there. The Jallad himself, you know, he felt sorry for this old man. You know, I don't want to put this old man through so much pain. So he started to think, I'm going to cut.
Jallad is the executioner.
Yeah, executioner, sorry. So the executioner decided, I'll cut your hand here. When Bhai Mani Singh said, no, but your order is that you've got to cut me from each point. So you see those, like we're talking about those pictures, you see the pictures and you got Bhai Mani Singh pointing. So he's pointing to the Jallad saying, this is where you start. Yeah, and this is, you know, we're saying this is
amazing.
It is amazing.
This is, when we talk about Immortals, you know, those two Gursikhs are just embedded across, you know, in every household, in every Gurdwara. Every child grows up seeing that image of Bhai Mani Singh and Babadeep Singh. and it just, you know, it stays with you all your life.
Yeah.
You just, you know, it makes your hair stand up.
Yeah.
You know, it's
To be honest with
literally,
you,
know, when you see that.
You know, if somebody's shot by a bullet or somebody, you know, dies suddenly, you know, it's almost like an easy death. An immortal is someone who sits there, looks death approaching him bit by bit. If you imagine Baba Mani Singh ji, on the Betea, the band being chopped, you know, they're actually fighting death without eye contact. Actually seeing death, you know, and they're not afraid of it. Because if you're being shot, you're shot, aren't you? You haven't got a chance to think about it. Oh, Mani Singh is looking, look, it's coming closer and closer. So that is a true immortal. A true immortal is someone who can look death in his eye and say, you know what, I'm waiting for you.
Let's talk about the circumstances that led to the Shahidi of Bhai Mani Singh. So we know Bhai Mani Singh is been. We'll do Bhai Mani Singh. Let's talk about Bhai Mani Singh first. So talk about Bhai Mani Singh. He's been given he's taken on the role of Jathedari, or head Granthi, we call it, of Darbar Sahib. So we've already talked about how he negotiated his way and how he'd have got control of Darbar Sahib back again from the Saudis.
That's 1709, 2 years after Guru Gobind Singh goes to Sachkhand. 2 years after, Banda Singh Bahadur comes into Punjab, takes over Punjab, creates Khalsa Raj for almost a year and a half, 2 years. Banda Singh Bahadur obviously then overpowered again by the Mughal Empire, is imprisoned. Him and his 500 followers are executed by various means. And then there is a split within the Sikh Panth. With a split, you've got a split of Bandai Khalsa. Bandai Khalsa actually believed that Banda Singh Bahadur was the Guru of the Sikhs after Guru Gobind Singh.
There were certain changes as well. I think they had different greetings and
Fatah Darshan. They changed some of the core concept of Sikh. That Khalsa obviously knew that Guru Granth Sahib Maharaj is apne Guru. There was a split in the Panth, a very big one. So again, like you were talking earlier, Bhai Mani Singh ji was sent by Mata Sundari ji, and Baba Deep Singh again come there as well. Baba Mani Singh ji asked Baba Deep Singh to Siriao, because we need to sort that together. It's a big issue. And they sort it out. You know, Baba Deep Singh Ardas kar there on 2 pieces of paper, the Tat Khalsa and Bandai Khalsa, because they're both fighting for the administration of the Akal Takht and control of Amritsar. And Baba Mani Singh said, what we'll do Ardas, we put your names on 2 pieces of paper, Tat Khalsa one, Bandai Khalsa one, we put them into the Sarovar, which everyone floats, they can have the administration, which everyone sinks, they'll have to go away and never return. It's quite a simple idea, really. And at the end, Bandai Khalsa, their name sank, and Tat Khalsa, their name floated. And they obviously therefore took administration of the
You know what amazes me about this story is the acceptance of that decision. Because I question in this day and age, and I'm talking about the Singhs and the good Sikhs, again I keep putting people down, and people are probably going to accuse me of this, but it's not an easy it's not an easy decision to make and accept that decision that's been made, and I don't think we're geared out in this day and age to accept that decision.
I think it was a faith in Baba Mani Singh. Most of it.
Imagine what kind of personality he must have been.
Who's going to challenge him? On what level are you going to challenge him? Gurbani going to challenge him?
There was more faith in Gurmat.
There was, and the fact that he carried the stamp of approval of Mata Sundari ji, who was guiding the Khalsa at the time.
But I think also I want to touch his point here, because I think we can use that in an excuse, you know,
because that should exist. Then that obviously doesn't exist now. But those traits, those principles, those beliefs should exist still.
Exactly.
Gurmat should still prevail in that. The right decision. You know how we make how we do, how we have the concept of Sarbat Khalsa, and that we'll all sit in a they'll all sit in a room
and speak.
Doesn't mean that by consensus doesn't mean that your decision, that your choice has been agreed at, but you've found a middle ground where you can all agree. And that's the kind of thinking which we
I think middle ground is hard to find nowadays, and that's what we have to bring back again. There is a middle ground. It does exist, and middle ground often is the best way of going forward. Okay, back to Mani Singh.
So very quickly, because obviously time is running out. So Mani Singh is obviously therefore made the head Granthi of Akal Takht, and the Amritsar takes administration control. He actually stays there. And Baba Deep Singh goes back to Dundwan Sahib. Mani Singh ji therefore, on Vaisakhi, Diwali Day is approaching, and they want to celebrate Diwali on a very big scale. So a lot of letters are given out to all the Sikhs. On this year we're going to celebrate Diwali on a very big scale. It's like a transcendental.
It's also to bring self-esteem back in again, because just imagine what they've gone. So they've seen Baba Banda Singh Bahadur assassinated. They've seen the Khalsa Raj. They've seen the Khalsa Raj go through all those difficulties. So again, it's to keep the Sangat
involved and to rebuild old connections again. Because you can imagine those days, it wasn't like now. Pick up a mobile phone or on the internet, Facebook. connection had to be built by meeting each other. So Baba Mani Singh does this, and also then, before he does that, he talks to the governor of the time, and he says, okay, we're going to have a big function, and is there a problem? He goes, there's no problem, but you have to pay a tax for it. They agree a tax.
I think it's 5,000 gold coins at the time.
They agree that tax. And Baba Mani Singh says, but we don't want any interference from the administration. We want to celebrate our Tihar apne khushi de naal and dhoom dhaam de naal. So
he uses mediating skills here again. Because that would have been a straightforward thing to do as well. Don't forget, the Sikhs would have been a threat. So again, Baba Mani Singh has got some influential skills here and some good negotiation skills here to be able to get to that kind of agreement.
And when he does, he then comes back, and then some of the advisors to the governor are saying, if Sikhs come in that numbers, if they turn against you, who's going to stop them? Many times we have suffered at the hands of the Sikhs. Do you really want to do this? So then the governor begins to think and says, we'll get extra forces in, and we'll have certain stop points. Whoever seems like a troublemaker, we'll arrest him.
Which probably means everyone.
Basically, And Baba Mani Singh finds out about this. He finds out, he resends out letters again that don't come to Akal Takht, don't come to Amritsar for Diwali, because if you do, we may have a situation where a lot of our Nojwan get arrested. It might be counterproductive. So Bandi Shore Diwali is celebrated on a very small scale. The governor still expects Baba Mani Singh to pay the 500 coins.
But 5,000. He's obviously using it as an excuse here as well, in order to.
Of course. He's also basically, he then says to Baba Mani Singh, you promised, you go back on your promise. Baba Mani says, you went back on your promise. You were going to arrest certain people, so we had to call off our event. So I'm not going to give you again Sangat de Pasa, Sangat de Golak. I'm not going to misuse Sangat Golak for sake of my life. If you want to punish me, go ahead, but I'm not going to let you misuse Sangat Golak money because you've gone back on your word. So hence Baba Mani Singh is arrested. He's arrested. He's obviously asked to convert. He did a convert, and then the punishment will give it to Baba Mani Singh bit by bit.
It's an amazing, again, it's the stand for principle. And again, the character of Bhai Mani Singh was such that not only was he, had gone through all that, but he showed at the end as well that Gurbani, he's going to live by that Gurbani through to the end.
But it's the principle of Sikh. We've lived our Sikh principles, we stand by it, and we'll die by it. We're not going to change them just because it doesn't suit you anymore. And that was the key to it. And as you know, and on the other side, Deep Singh Ji, they are now, they go through a lot as well. If you look, if we go through it, in 1733, the Sarbat Khalsa is called, 1733. Sarbat Khalsa is called, the 65 little bands are put into 12 missiles. Deep Singh Ji is made the head of the Shahidi missile, who are based up, again, Damdama Sahib, near Satluj Darya, right? And a lot of the times, the bands of the looters, because the Afghans are coming in several times, fourth time. On the fourth time, Ahmad Shah Abdali, some say Ahmad Shah Durain, who was the successor of Abdali, as they were passing through Satluj, Deep Singh Ji's was told that Ahmad Shah Durain is coming by. He's got Bachiyan, he's got girls, he's got men captured to take it back to
human trafficking.
You are. We need to free them. They're the daughters of our land. How can we let a Farangi take them? So Deep Singh Ji and then this missile.
But that's they would have taken it for sexual exploitation anyhow. That's where they were taking these
slavery and all
slavery. So these women and children were taken for exploitation, and all those reasons. And the Sikh steps in.
And it was again to break the psyche, isn't it? So it was to break. It was to break the common man and everything. It was to get in there and make them feel that you're not worth anything. I'm taking your family. You're not worth anything. I'm in control of your life, basically.
And the Marathas, who are known as the warrior race, the Rajputs known as the warrior race,
they didn't do anything.
They were helpless. And when they went past Deep Singh's Satluj Darya and the valley up to it, Deep Singh and obviously the whole Shahidi Mishu attacked, and they freed the 300 women, they freed the 100 men, and when Abdali got back to Lahore, he said, who are these people? Nobody else touches me. Just let me go by the areas. But when I come into Punjab, I'm always getting looted. And then he's an educator. He says, this is their source of spiritual home. He says, then where is the spiritual home? Because Darbar Sahib, Harmandir Sahib is the Sikh spiritual home. And that is what Ahmad Shah Abdali said, we need to destroy it. If we don't destroy that they won't be far when they will take over.
So it's again attack the centre, which we see all the time. We've seen it.
Exactly. 84, 47, always attack the central spiritual home of the Sikh, which is the Akal Takht and the Darbar Sahib. So Ahmad Shah Abdali, what he does then, he makes Timur his son, the governor of Punjab. He then gets 2 generals, Jamal Khan and Jahan Khan, and he sends them to destroy apne Darbar Sahib, and they do. So they are given a force of 10,000 bande. Apne Ahmad Shah Durain leaves 10,000 bande in Lahore and goes back to Afghanistan, and then Jamal Khan takes the army to Darbar Sahib and blows it up to the foundations.
And then what's amazing?
And then the Sikhs found out.
Yeah.
The Sikhs found out afterwards.
You know what's happening. I mean, when Baba Deep Singh Ji finds out, obviously he's in Damdama Sahib at this point. So a handful of Sikhs, in comparison, 300 Sikhs with Baba Deep Singh Ji.
Sikh left with Baba Deep Singh Ji.
They make this journey. Then so it's like a journey. It's like caravan. So basically, they make the journey. More Sikhs are joining. More Sikhs are joining. By the time they get to Taran Sahib, there's about 5,000 Sikhs at that point in time.
Right.
5,000 Sikhs in Taran Sahib. There's a Gurdwara in Taran Sahib which is called Lakir Sahib, and this marks that spot where Baba Deep Singh Ji with his khandar draws a line in the ground.
That's a picture you see.
And again, we're talking about the picture, and he draws a line in the ground saying that whoever's going to step over this, don't expect to go back now. So this is the kind of that they were ready for Shahidi. Then the battle itself as well happened near Taran Sahib, around those areas. And again,
about 10 miles from Amritsar.
And then it was literally it was that whole Sawa Lakh se ek ladao.
But the odds were
it's going to be,
because they had 20,000.
Yeah.
Because obviously 20,000 Mughal army, and then you had 5,000, almost like odds were like 1 to 4.
Yeah.
1 to 4 was the ratio of odds. And again, Sikhs quite valiantly fight them at that particular point.
Did the 5,000 actually go? How many people went with Baba Deep Singh in the end?
All the 5,000 crossed the line.
Yeah.
Generally, from, like I said, 500 Sikhs leave from Damdama Sahib, and by the time we get Taran Sahib, Sikhs join on. Because they find out, all the Muslims find out, look, Darbar has been destroyed. We have to, we have to take back the administration of Darbar Sahib. Because obviously, Jamal can't take the administration of it. So going back to free Darbar Sahib. So he was saying, 84 ki hoya, wo to pehlo ki hoya sega. Same thing had happened. So, and therefore, when Darbar Sahib, Baba Deep Singh then go, and they have that battle, and in that battle, Baba Deep Singh fights Jamal Khan, who is the general on the other side. And on the Sanjabar Hunda, that meaning they both strike at the same time. And consider Baba Deep 75 years old, and Jamal Khan in his mid-30s. Right? And they're fighting on the same kind of level.
No, exactly.
And when Jamal Khan and Baba Deep Sanjabar Hunda, both of their heads come off. Both of their heads drop.
And this is where we see that amazing image of Baba Deep Singh.
Well, Baba Deep Singh
carrying his head.
He had made a promise that he would die in the vicinity. He would give his life out in the vicinity.
That was the
ardas which they done before they left. So then that promise, in order to fulfill that promise, and with the Jivan Mukt which he had achieved, he was able, at Damdama Sahib, while while helping Guru Gobind Singh Ji write Guru Granth Sahib Ji and all those kind of, and his own bhakti. Don't forget in Damdama Sahib as well, we have there's his Pura Sahib, Baba Deep Singh Ji Pura Sahib. So there's a lot of
Burja, where they used to
with bhakti and
the tower where he slept as well.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is,
So then-
Maharaj was 52 years there. What was he doing at those times? Maharaj doing a lot of, like you said, a lot of education.
Yeah. So then he then gave, obviously, he then presented his head at a distance. It was, once he became into the vicinity. So that's why when you come to Banda Sahib, you have the side, you have one side which is Baba Deep Singh's side. And then further down outside of the complex and further into Amritsar, you have actually the Shahidi Astan. Obviously, that building, those buildings wouldn't have been around in those days. It would have been an open ground. At that point, then when he gave his cease to
when the heads are beheaded, and then a Sikh says, and some say, Baba Deep Singh the Atmani, you promised, and the war is not over yet. So all the came there, Baba Deep Singh's body got up. And on the left hand, he put his head, and on the right hand, he carried on fighting for 5 to 7 kilometers. Baba Deep Singh fought like that. And that image of fighting and boosted even more of the Sikh courageousness. And
it inspires us till this day. Everything that we have achieved till this day, we will carry on achieving till eternity, is those images of Baba Deep Singh, these actions of Baba Deep Singh.
It shows that the Sikh service will not stop even if you lose your head. As the head can go, we're still going to carry on without our body. It's on the symbolic gesture. And like that said, that is when the Mughal armies then just turn back. because they think we can't fight head people who have been, that is when they turn back.
And we'll always know these Gursikhs as, they're not Shi'is, they're Anokha Shi'is. Their Shahidi is, what's the equivalent for Anokha? Different or unique?
It's a misal.
Unique, isn't it?
It's a
unique
it's a
Shahidi.
unique act.
You won't see it anywhere in history.
But where Baba Deep Singh puts his head, Baba Deep Singh apne sir rakhde in the Prakarma, in the vicinity of Darbar Sahib, it used to be on the floor. There used to be like a little har around that particular point. Now it's been moved to that, like on the side, made a monument almost on the side. They couldn't move that particular. They haven't moved the spot. They've actually made a monument.
Right.
And kind of almost got rid of the spot. But it just shows that Baba Deep Singh then carried on that fight to that point. Apna sir rakh ke fulfilled his promise. And after the Shahidi, they then rebuild Darbar Sahib again.
Yeah.
Darbar Sahib is rebuilt. Nawab Kapoor Singh ji takes leadership of that. And this all happens in the 1957, in that era. So showing that Sekhadir Das, the Sampurna Sekhadir Das survey,
1757 you mean?
1957. Sorry, 1757. So once Darbar Sahib is recompleted, Sikhs take re-control of the administration again. But what to remember is this is such a dark period for the Sikhs, because we're getting constantly invaders coming in from the Khyber Pass. Hence, when Maharaj Ranjit Singh becomes the Sher Punjab, becomes the king of Punjab, the first thing he does, he says that we're going to take control of the Khyber Pass, because all through history, that is the one pass that's always hounded us.
I think we've run out of time again. Again, there's so much to talk about, and so little time to do it in. So we will come back to this. We're going to carry on this discussion. The theme is current, and the theme is going to carry on for a period of time now. Anyway, so we did want to talk about these two immortals, as we call them as such, by Mani Singh and Baba Deep Singh. So we're going to touch upon their lives, the source of their lives, the source of their inspiration, the early part of their life, and again, what we know them for and what they achieved and how they still influence us today. So hopefully we brought some relevance to their actions and brought relevance to our lives, and made something more interesting to you at home and more appreciative for your understanding of this Sikh history. So next week we'll be back again. We'll carry on this theme of discussion, and thank you once again to my two Veers for your immense amount of knowledge. So thank you again. Every time I come here, I seem to learn more and more. So until we meet again, Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.